You've stopped texting her, stopped calling. You vanished, thinking your silence would echo like a bell at midnight, the only sound she could hear. You thought your absence would carve a hollow in her mind, that each passing hour would become a wordless punishment pulling her back to you. You thought silence was a tactic, that disappearing from sight would force her to start looking inward. But no, nothing. No reaction. No late-night call. No "I miss you" text. Just news stories, casual updates, and her eyes calm as if you never existed. You call it strategy. But the truth is, you're sitting alone in a dark room playing a game she never even agreed to play. You're replaying the same sad song, and you're the only one listening. This isn't silence. This is deliberate loneliness. Silence on its own means nothing. It's just an empty space. An empty space creates no value unless you fill it with a man who is stronger, calmer, more formidable than before. Silence won't make anyone miss you. It only extends the forgetting if you're still the same man retreating and hoping to be longed for. You haven't truly disappeared. You're just waiting in the wings, hoping to be called back on stage. And a man who still hopes to be called has never truly left. If your silence is just waiting for someone to remember you, this video is a slap in the face. Comment one word enough if you're ready to stop humiliating yourself quietly. Maybe the light you share will guide another man out. If this video hits that dark corner you've been hiding, like, share and subscribe, not to save you, but so you no longer need saving. Let's begin. You think you're being silent, but really you're standing backstage, biting your lip, staring at the old stage, hoping they'll call you up again. That's not retreat. That's waiting in desperation, dressed up in a suit and calling it strategy. You call it no contact. But look closer, you've turned off her notifications, yet you still check her profile every night. You don't text her, but you rehearse imaginary conversations in your head. You swear you'll forget, but you remember every detail like some psychological archaeologist sifting through the ashes of your own ruin. The truth is, you're still talking to her, only now you're doing it in silence. You tell yourself, she's probably thinking about me too. You whisper, she'll realize something when I'm gone. You lead yourself deeper into a maze of hope with no exit, and you give it a fancy name: strategic silence. You know what's funny? You're screaming in your head, and you actually think she can hear it. Women aren't moved by distance. They're moved by energy. If you pull away, but your energy is still weak, needy, and desperate to be seen, then even without texting, you're still trailing behind her like a mute shadow. You don't need to say, "I miss you." She feels it. You don't need to beg. She can still see you're waiting for her eyes to give you back your worth. Silence is not a tactic. It's only meaningful absence if you're truly no longer dependent. If you pull away, but your heart is still anchored to her, you're not silent. You're just practicing passive resistance. And it's as weak as dishwater. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If something is outside your control, it is not worth occupying your mind." And you've got your entire nervous system orbiting around someone who's no longer there. You think she's going to see your growth through your silence? No. From her perspective, you vanished like a loser, too afraid to face things head on. And here's the irony. If you truly disappeared to grow, she might respect it. But if you disappear to be missed, you've lost before you even played. Picture this. You're an actor. The show's over. The curtain's down, but you're still standing backstage in full costume, hoping the director changes their mind. That's you. And that's why your silence produces nothing but meaningless absence. The scary part isn't the silence. The scary part is when you believe your silence carries weight while you're still the same man, weak, dependent, and craving. You haven't withdrawn. You've just muted the sound while broadcasting the same old program. And women don't re-watch old tapes. They stream new content with a clearer, stronger, higher value signal. Because women don't respond to words. They respond to energy. You ask energy, what does that mean? You could go completely silent, no calls, no texts, no posts. But if your mind is still running the full movie of, I wonder if she misses me, she already feels it. Women don't need you to say it. They're not waiting for your message. They don't measure feelings by the number of days you've been gone. They measure by the scent of your energy, and that you can't hide. It leaks out through the smallest actions, the way you glance at your phone, the way you sneak back to watch her old stories, the way you keep thinking about someone who's already stepped out of your life, as if you still owe her one last moment. I once knew a guy named Mike. 39, divorced wife, left after 6 years of marriage because you're not the man I fell in love with anymore. Mike read a few self-help articles and decided to play the silent card. No contact, no pleading, no blame. But every 3 days, he was still checking her profile, dissecting each story like decoding a classified file. One night, she posted a photo smiling over a glass of wine, captioned "New Chapter." Mike called me at midnight and asked, "You think she's dating someone?" I asked back, "Are you playing no contact, or are you playing emotional detective?" What Mike didn't understand, and what millions of men don't, is that women don't react to physical absence. They react to energetic withdrawal. You can block everything, but if your mind is still living in a wing of memory that belongs to her, she's still running you. No strings required. Just a thought. Women have radar. They don't hear your voice. They hear the frequency you broadcast. Like when you post a story having dinner alone, but at the exact same restaurant you two used to go to. Or when you post a quote like, "Sometimes silence is the loudest answer," but your caption has the wrong healing. They look and know instantly, this guy's trying to look fine, but inside he's sweating bullets, terrified of being forgotten. You think you're being silent to spark curiosity. But in reality, you've just stepped back one pace, waiting to be called forward again. And women smell that like a dog smells raw meat. They don't attack. They just step back watching you fall on your own. The real reaction only happens when they feel you've unplugged completely from them, when the signal's cut, when they can't control you anymore with a story, a song, or a perfectly timed scene. It's like driving a car you know well. You hit the gas on a familiar turn, but nothing happens. No lights, no engine, no sound. Just cold, empty silence. That's when panic hits. Not because you love the car, but because it no longer belongs to you. That's what makes women lose control. Not words, not sulking, not high-minded philosophy. The more you try to show them you're fine, the more you broadcast, "I'm fine, but I'm performing fine," for you to see. The more you quote Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, the more you flash that you're reading Seneca while still hoping for a "I miss you" text, the more you're drinking Stoicism like an energy drink, temporarily alert but painfully fake. You think she can't tell, not only does she see it, so do all your coworkers. Real energy doesn't need a caption. It doesn't need a status. It doesn't try to prove. It doesn't need to be seen. It just separates cold, still clear. And when a woman feels that calm, that's when she flinches. Not because you've left, but because you're no longer in her hand. Before, all she had to do was crook her finger and you'd run back. Now she crooks it. Nothing happens. She texts. No reply. She posts a sad story you don't watch. She uploads a photo with someone new you don't like, you don't block. You vanish as if there was never anything worth keeping. That's when she starts to miss. Not because you're unforgettable, but because she no longer controls what she once had in her grip. Silence alone doesn't create pull. Silence is just a pause, a held breath, a temporary step back. It's not the lever. The lever is only as powerful as the weight you put on it. And if you're still the same man, just with a new haircut, dressed in black, trying to look mysterious, your silence won't move anyone. It just makes you drop off the grid like a phone with a dead battery tossed in a corner with no one calling. The leverage isn't in disappearing. It's in who shows up again after you've been gone long enough. If you come back with a new six-pack, new skills, a bigger bank account, and stronger discipline, but your head still tilts toward your ex the way the earth turns toward the moon, you haven't created pull. You've just made an upgraded version of your dependency. Women aren't drawn to staged maturity. They're drawn to a man who can stand on his own without needing an audience. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The one who cannot stand alone will fall with any crowd." To do that, you must understand this: silence is not a tactic. Silence is a test. And if you don't become a force, your own silence will swallow you whole. You think you hurt because she left. But look closer, the real pain isn't losing her, it's no longer recognizing yourself. In love, you bent your principles, sacrificed your habits, and switched off your backbone. You became a version that was easy to accept, easy to love, easy to live with. When she walked away, you were left with a man who didn't know who he was or what to live for, if not to be loved. You call that heartbreak? No. That's loss of identity. That's letting love lead you out of yourself, until one day you wake up with no road back. From then on, every step you take is a search not for someone new, but for the part of you that you abandoned because you thought keeping her was enough. As I've said, women don't react to physical absence. They react to the withdrawal of energy. Epictetus wrote, "The strong man is the one who does not let his mind be led by what is beyond his control." To pull back your energy and still have force, you must become a man heavy enough to create leverage. Heavy here isn't about body weight. It's the weight of your value. The mistake many men make is disappearing and then coming back as the same man, just with a few extra gym selfies, some coffee shop shots, and captions like "rebuild," "focus," "hustle." Real growth doesn't need a signboard. Nobody cares if you hang a banner saying "opening my company soon." They only care about one thing: where is your company and is it making money? Yet silence isn't magic. It's just empty space. And that space only matters if you fill it with something truly valuable. That starts with your body train, not to take mirror selfies, but to actually be stronger, more agile, with the energy to work and live. A strong body changes the way you enter a room. It doesn't scream, "I go to the gym." It whispers, "I respect myself." The same goes for intellect. Learn new skills, expand your understanding, not to look smart, but to actually have the ability to steer your life. An intelligent man isn't someone who knows fancy words, but someone who knows what he wants and how to get it. Women sense that faster than you think, just as they can sense when you're pretending to be busy. Finances need no debate. You don't have to be a millionaire to be attractive, but you must have control over your money. A man without financial autonomy is easy to manipulate emotionally because he's always dependent or avoiding the truth. Especially when he plays the classic card, "Women are too materialistic," often just an excuse when he can't afford a Valentine's gift. If given the choice, would you rather be the son or husband in a family that's stable, or one that's broke and stressed whenever there's no paycheck? Men feel the same way. So don't blame women for feeling that way too. Money can't buy love, but it buys freedom, and freedom is the foundation of the masculine frame. Discipline is what holds everything together. Without it, you'll slip back into old habits the moment your emotions dip. Discipline is showing up to train when you don't feel like it working, when you're not inspired, sticking to the plan when no one's watching. It's the quiet force that doesn't make noise, but everyone feels it. The masculine frame is the final product. Seneca once said, "If you do not master yourself, you will be mastered by everything." That's the true meaning of the masculine frame, the state where you don't need validation to know your worth. You don't have to prove your strength by acting cold. You don't have to try to show when you walk into a room. You just are, and you here means the disciplined, self-directed, emotionally unmoved version of yourself. When you have this frame, your silence carries weight because it's not silence waiting for a reaction. It's silence because you're busy living. I once knew a man named Jack, 39 years old, divorced after his wife left for a younger co-worker. Instead of diving into dating to fill the void or posting vague status updates, Jack did one thing: he truly disappeared. He spent 18 months losing 40 pounds, learning project management, switching from a dull office job to independent consulting, buying a small suburban house and renovating it with his own hands. No before and after photos, no humble brags. Only when they met again at a mutual friend's wedding did his ex-wife see a completely different Jack, not because he looked fitter or dressed better, but because his eyes no longer sought her approval. That's when silence became leverage. The condition for silence is that you must pull all your energy from the other person and reinvest it into yourself in a real way. No fake busyness. No acting like I'm fine. No trying to prove anything. You do it because you refuse to go back to the version of yourself that was left behind. And when you truly live like that, your silence won't be the gap she wants to fill. It'll be the gap she realizes she created when she let you go. Here's another way to clarify your mindset. Imagine she never comes back. What will you live for? If your answer is, "I don't know," that's when you realize your entire life's orbit has been around one person. To change your orbit, you must set a new center of gravity, a goal that would still make you want to wake up and work, even if everyone walked away. Women respond most strongly when they realize you no longer revolve around them. And this isn't some tactic to make her regret. It's the byproduct of a life with a real direction. When you live for a mission bigger than who you love, your energy changes frequency. You walk into a room without searching for anyone's eyes. You speak less, but every word lands because it comes from experience, not from the need to impress. Write down your answers to 3 questions. 1. What's your biggest goal for the next 5 years? 2. If tomorrow you return to God, what legacy would you leave behind? 3. Which 3 adjectives would describe the man you want to become? If you can't answer right away, don't expect your silence to have any pull. Because without a destination, your silence is just a dull emptiness, not a mysterious void. Shifting your focus is hard because it forces you to face the truth you've let someone else become your reason for living for too long. But once you set a new target, your feelings toward that person will shift on their own. Not because you forced yourself to forget, but because you're too busy living to make room for the old obsession. It's like a song you once loved, played on repeat every day, until one day you discover an entire new playlist. You don't have to hate the old song. It just stops being the center. Silence only has force when you use it to accumulate. And accumulation only matters when it serves your own goals, not to prove to someone they were wrong to leave. One day, if you meet her again, you won't have to say, "I've changed." She'll see it herself. And more importantly, even if she doesn't, you'll keep living, because your goal was never to make her see. Closing. Your silence doesn't create longing by itself. It's just darkness. And if in that darkness stands the same old man, it will swallow you whole like a windowless room. But if you use your silence to pull back your energy build, your body sharpen your mind, master your finances, forge discipline, and reconstruct your mission in life, you become someone no one can control and no one dares to underestimate. That is the real Stoic move, anyone would find hard to resist, living not to be remembered, but so that even you can't ignore yourself. Don't let your silence be a dull emptiness, like a closed bar waiting for old customers to return. Make it a forge burning red hot, where every hammer strike shapes a new version of you, sharper, stronger, and in no need of anyone's validation. She might remember you, she might not, but you won't care anymore. Today's command silent and unshaken. Type it in the comments like engraving it into steel to remind yourself whenever you're tempted to go silent in weakness. This is Victory Stoic. If this made you pause for a beat hit, share it with a man who needs to wake up and subscribe so you don't miss the next wake-up strike.